Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new to my channel or just simply not yet subscribed, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button. When you guys watch my videos, or any creator for that matter, and you hit that like button, you share, you subscribe, it helps us all so much. So if you could do any or all of those things, I would be so appreciative. Anyways, this case has been a highly recommended one, and I actually filmed this video already and then accidentally deleted it. When I went to delete the unedited copy of a previous video, I accidentally deleted this one and permanently deleted it. So I have to refilm it, which is fine. I just want, with a case like this, it is very popular. Like, it is a very well-known case. So you may know some, or even some people who have really been following this case with tea, like you might know it all, but you might not. Just a full disclosure there. And another disclosure, if you don't know this case very well, or even if you do, it's a pretty dark one. This case was certainly one of those cases that shook the world, and it still captures the world to this day. When JonBenet Ramsey, a 6-year-old little girl, went missing, only to have her body discovered in a place that shouldn't have been overlooked. There's some really shoddy police work in this one. JonBenet Patricia Ramsey was born on August 6, 1990 in Atlanta, Georgia, to JonBenet and Patricia Ramsey. She had an older brother and was known to be very outgoing. JonBenet had already won multiple pageants by the age of 6. And on December 26, 1996, a once very happy family would have their entire lives turned upside down. Sorry for the traffic noises. I am by the window. It is very hot outside and we don't have AC. So sorry about that. That morning, John and Patsy would awake to find their 6-year-old daughter missing from her bed at their home in Boulder, Colorado. They were leaving for a trip that day, so John and Patsy got up earlier than they normally would have, and that is when Patsy discovered a ransom note on the stairs demanding $118,000 for their daughter's safe return. And even though the note said not to involve the police, Patsy immediately called them, as well as friends and family, to help them find their missing daughter. So I'm going to insert that call right now for you guys.
911 emergency.
We need him. Police.
What's going on?
515th Street.
What's going on there, ma'am?
We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please.
Explain to me what's going on, okay?
There's a note left and our daughter's gone.
A note was left and your daughter is gone? How old is your daughter?
6 years old. She's blind. 6 years old.
How long ago was this?
I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's
Does it say who took her?
What?
Does it say who took her?
I don't know. There's a ransom note here.
It's a ransom note?
It says SBTC. Victory. Please.
Okay, what's your name? Are you
Patsy Ramsey, I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please.
Okay, I'm sending an officer over, okay?
Please.
Do you know how long she's been gone?
No, I don't. Please, we just got out. Is she right here? Oh my God, please.
Okay,
Please, there's somebody.
I am, honey.
Please.
Take a deep breath for me,
Please,
okay?
hurry.
Patsy, 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 Patsy. Patsy?
Some people do talk about hearing like that the phone didn't actually disconnect and thinking that they hear a little boy in the background, which is odd because they say that their son is sleeping. But I mean, it could just be, I don't know. I don't really hear too much, so I'm curious if you guys hear it, what you guys do hear. Leave it in the comments down below what you think about that. And I'm also going to read you guys the ransom note. Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills. The remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attached to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money, and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. My deviction of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as the police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned. We are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions. And you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only one around, so don't think that killing will be different. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory. SBTC. So some of it is a little hard for me to read, just figuring out what some of the words are, because it is very sloppily written, and it's really long. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about is, the ransom note is really long, and that's a little strange. There's a lot strange about this ransom note, and if you kind of pick it apart, it is strange that, they're like, well, if you do this, if you do this, if you do this, and it's very weird how it's put together. Police arrived at their home at 5:55 a.m. There was no signs of a forced entry. The police checked everywhere except the basement, which is really strange. Why wouldn't you check everywhere, right? You're looking for a kid. You're looking for any sign of an intruder, so why wouldn't you check the basement? And they only cornered off JonBenet's bedroom. Now, this was a huge mistake on the police's part because friends and family roamed the rest of the house, which means that they were touching things. They were, they were leaving their DNA everywhere, which was corrupting other DNA that could have possibly been the killers. The Boulder Police Department delayed conducting their informal interviews with the Ramseys, which is strange. I don't know why you wouldn't go up and talk to the parents and stuff to kind of see what happened and what they know, while other ones start to search. It's really almost like they didn't fully care. And after several hours, the police began leaving, and they left only one detective there named Linda Arndt to wait with the parents for the kidnappers' call. which is really strange that they would only leave one. When 10 a.m. passed and a call never came, the Ramseys didn't show any sort of acknowledgement that the ransom time had come and gone, but that's not super crazy that they didn't show any sort of acknowledgement. I guess you'd have to really see how they were behaving otherwise, because they were really worried about their daughter, so maybe they weren't like actually paying attention to a time, unless they were sitting there like right by a phone and just like waiting. Then I know that I would be like staring at the clock and it would be taking forever to move because I would be so anxious. But I don't really know about how they were, and everybody responds differently. So at 1 p.m., police had asked Mr. Ramsey and a family friend to go around the house to see if anything was strange and out of place. So it's not crazy that the police had asked them to do this, but it's crazy that they sent them alone. Yeah, they weren't like with the Mr. Ramsey and the family friend. So it's very, I don't know, like, I think they immediately had an idea in their head, and then it was just like, okay. So Mr. Ramsey and the family friend immediately went into the basement. That was the first place that they looked, and it was the only place the police didn't look. And that is when they saw JonBenet's body. She was no longer alive, and her father immediately picked her up and brought her upstairs. So obviously not the right move for him to do, because he's, compromising evidence, but as a grieving parent and witnessing that, like, how are you supposed to react? During the autopsy, the cause of death was revealed, and it was asphyxiation due to strangulation in addition to a skull fracture. Her mouth had been covered in duct tape, and her wrists and her neck were wrapped with a white cord. Her torso had been also covered in a white blanket, and there was no conclusive evidence of rape because there was no semen found on her body, but her vagina was wiped clean, so it was evident that there was a sexual assault. But because they didn't find any semen, they couldn't conclusively say it. The makeshift garret was made using a length of cord and a part of a paintbrush that was from the Ramseys' basement. The coroner also believed to find what he thought, or what they thought was pieces of a pineapple in her stomach, but her parents didn't remember giving her a pineapple or any pineapple the night before. A bowl of pineapple was found in the kitchen, thought to have belonged to JonBenet's brother, but they couldn't completely link him to this because, he lives in the house, so it wouldn't be uncommon for his fingerprints to be on that bowl. The Ramseys insisted that Burke was in his room the entire night, which leads us back to that call where people think that they hear a little boy's voice at the end after Patsy thought that she hung up, and that obviously would have been Burke, if that is what that is, which means that he wasn't in his room. But that would be the morning, not the night, so. And there wasn't any conclusive evidence to suggest otherwise, that he wasn't in his room all night. There's also 2 marks on JonBenet's face and back, which was thought to have come from a stun gun, which the Ramseys did not own. The most popular theories of the case come down to 2. It boils down to the family theory, and the intruder investigation literally put the Ramsey family under a microscope.
Speculation about who did it. Some say it was her mother.
I did not know my child.
Others claim it was her brother.
The police felt that the ransom note was staged because it was unusually wrong and was written using a pen and paper that was from the Ramseys' home, which almost shows that it wasn't this pre-planned thing if it was an intruder, to go about trying to get a ransom. because they just like picked up a pen and paper there and scribbled down a note real quick. Also, the ransom amount was the exact amount that John had received as a bonus earlier that year, which is a little weird unless it was somebody that knows them, so they would know that they would have that amount. A little strange, but maybe a coincidence. The Ramseys also didn't really want to cooperate with the police, and they later claimed that this was because they feared that the police would not conduct a full investigation or target them as early suspects. Personally, I feel like not cooperating with the police fully it kind of makes you more of a target, and I don't know why you wouldn't want to cooperate with them, because they want to find who killed her. So like, why wouldn't you, right? Like, all 3 members of the family were questioned and all submitted handwriting samples to compare to the ransom letter. Both John and Burke were cleared of it not being their handwriting. However, Patsy could not be completely cleared because her writing was similar. However, during the numerous interrogations, there was nothing that was incriminating of them killing their daughter.
Many people found the Ramseys' behavior peculiar, suspicious, weird, off balance, and from that thought, they must be guilty.
When you realized that you two were the prime suspects, what did you think? What did you feel? What did you say?
Well, we were outraged. We were shocked. How could they think that? We were a normal family.
I just didn't believe it. You just can't believe it. I mean, we're suffering from having lost our child. And then for someone to accuse you, it's just, you can't believe that that would happen.
A lot of people said, you know, if that were me, I'd be on the steps of the police department finding the murderer of my daughter. Then they go on CNN and say they didn't do it.
If anyone knows anything, please help us.
We've sensed from our friends that this tragedy has touched not just ourselves and our friends, but many people.
So with the family theory, there are some things that make you think, that might be something. But without the evidence and without a confession, it's kind of hard to 100% say that. But there are a few things that just aren't quite right. And statistically, it is normally a family member in these situations or somebody very close to the family. It's not often that it's a complete stranger. Now going into the intruder theory. There was a boot print found next to JonBenet's body that didn't belong to anybody in the family. There was also a broken window in the basement, which was believed to be where the intruder entered. There was also DNA from drops of blood from an unknown male found on her underwear, which I think this is one of the strongest pieces of evidence that the Ramseys didn't do this, because if it didn't belong to them, then whose was it, right? The floors in the Ramseys' house were mostly carpet, so it is possible that somebody could have grabbed JonBenet, brought her downstairs into the basement without waking anybody up. 3 months after JonBenet was found, Lou Smith was called out of retirement to help with this case. He was a Colorado detective who had investigated over 200 cases and got convictions for all of those cases. So he was very good at his job. Even he thought that this was an intruder that had done this. And he said that he had even seen evidence of an intruder. Lou Smith's intruder theory was getting pushed more aside, though, to the point where he actually ended up resigning from the case. Even though he wishes to continue to participate in the official investigation, that he cannot in good conscience be part of the persecution of innocent people. He did, however, continue to search for her killer, but stood by the parents' side while he was doing it. In 1998, a grand jury ended up accusing both John and Patsy Ramsey of, quote, unlawfully, knowingly, recklessly, and feloniously permitting a child to be unreasonably placed in a situation which posed a threat of injury to the child's life or health, as well as rendering assistance to a person with intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the discovery, detention, apprehension, prosecution, convictions, and punishment of such a person for the commission of a crime. But although the grand jury were convinced that one of the Ramseys committed this horrible act, they couldn't say which one. And they didn't have the evidence to prove it. So it didn't stick. One of the most famous suspects in this case was a man by the name of John Carr. He was arrested in 2006 because he confessed to killing JonBenet by accident. He said that it happened after he drugged and sexually abused her. He was eventually dismissed after it was found out that JonBenet had no drugs in her system. And police also couldn't confirm that he was even in Boulder at the time of the murder. And his DNA profile didn't match the DNA that they had found. So it leads you to wonder, why would you confess to a crime that you didn't commit, especially such a horrible one? But I mean, people do confess to crimes that they didn't commit. In 2003, the DNA was entered into CODIS, but it came back with no matches. In 2006, Boulder District Attorney Mary Lacey took over the case and thought that the intruder theory was the most likely theory. And in 2008, Mary Lacey put out a statement that cleared the Ramsey family, saying that they were fully exonerated. This was also the same year that Patsy Ramsey died from ovarian cancer and was buried next to JonBenet. In 2010, the case was officially reopened with a renewed focus on DNA samples. Further testing had been done on the samples, and it's believed that it was 2 people and not just one. Smith was diagnosed with colon cancer also in 2010, and he died August 11th, 2010. He never stopped investigating this case, and it was his dying wish that this case was solved. So his granddaughter, Jessie Vanderwoord, took on the task. Smith had created a database to narrow down suspects, and among the list was Gary Oliva, who was a homeless man who frequently visited a church less than 2 blocks from the Ramsey's house. And he had also told a friend on the phone right after JonBenet was murdered that he had just killed a little girl, but they couldn't connect him to the case because his DNA was not a match. But that's a weird coincidence. Bill McReynolds was also there. He dressed up as Santa Claus for Christmas parties at the Ramseys for 3 years. He was also investigated but cleared because, again, his DNA didn't match. Michael Helgeth was also there. He owned a pair of high-tech boots and also a stun gun. He had also died shortly after JonBenet was murdered by suicide, but was also cleared because his DNA was also not a match. The loss of their daughter took a huge toll on the Ramseys. And that's quite common, actually. Like, when you lose a child, it is common that it kind of disintegrates your relationship with your significant other. It's just, it's too much, right? Like, how are you supposed to wrap your head around something that isn't supposed to happen? It's supposed, like, we are not meant to outlast our children. Like, in a perfect world, that would never happen. John Ramsey lost his job and said to have spent millions on private investigators, lawyers, and security. He did remarry, so he is now remarried, and he's trying to focus on life. However, John Andrew Ramsey, who is JonBenet's half-brother, says that their fight for justice on behalf of his half-sister will not stop until they get an answer. Now, the most recent thing in this case, on April 30th of this year, so 2022, John Ramsey appeared at CrimeCon, which is a convention in, I think it's in Los Angeles, but I could be wrong. But it's a convention that basically all these people come and they try to solve crimes, right? They go through all the evidence and stuff, and like, you know, sometimes it takes somebody who is not in those, like that world, like of solving things every day to pick up the missing pieces. So they go around and they try to solve these cases. So John Ramsey was there to try to, you know, get help with his daughter's case. And he publicly declared his support for a petition calling on Governor Jared Polis to designate an independent agency to make decisions about testing the remaining DNA in this case, instead of just leaving it up to the Boulder Police Department. John Ramsey stated that this is because he's had a bitter personal experience with the police department concerning his daughter's case. And honestly, if, you know, over 20 years has gone by and it's still not solved, I don't blame him for wanting other people to look into this instead of just the police department. And being scrutinized the way that they were, because there's still a lot of people to this day that believe that the Ramseys did this. That it's their fault that their daughter is gone, that they killed her. But on both ends, you know, both theories, they do have things that support them, I guess, but neither one has a strong enough conclusion to it. Because if it did, we'd have the killer, right? It's so sad that this beautiful little girl lost her life way too early and in such a horrible manner. I pray that, you know, one day they figure out who did it. But I do wish that the police did a better job securing the crime scene, gathering the evidence, gathering the DNA evidence, really looking into everything, because maybe it would have been solved, but we don't know. So I'm really hoping that one day this case is solved. One day this family gets peace and JonBenet's spirit gets peace, because I wouldn't be surprised if she needed that. Let me know what you guys think about this case in the comments down below. This is just, it's horrible. There's really no other word for it. Definitely make sure you like this button if you want me to cover any other true crime cases, any other paranormal cases. You can leave them right in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I love you guys. Bye.